take a look at Bitcoin because it is soaring to a record high yesterday, pulled back after by the way, I should say about 5% after President Trump's first round of executive orders did not include crypto. We are joined right now by the CEO of the largest cryptocurrency exchange in the U.S., one of the biggest players globally. It's his first time here at Davos. Coinbase co-founder and CEO Brian Armstrong, in from Washington, where you were just with the whole gang over the weekend. Nice to see you.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Andrew.
There's so much to talk about. I want to actually just talk about the weekend first. Take us inside the room. What was the feeling? Just because we've obviously watched the crypto ball and everything else, but there seems to be a full-on sea change, or at least it seems that way in Washington about your world.
Yeah, I mean, it's really the dawn of a new day for crypto, and the energy was just palpable throughout the room. You have to remember, I mean, the last 4 years, we really felt like we were being attacked by this administration, and they tried to weaponize the lack of clarity in the rules to, really push back even on the good actors, right? There were some bad actors too, to be fair, but they even really tried to go after the good actors, I think, like us. So the industry is just ready for this new change. They're ready for clear rules, and that's our big push next, is to try to go get some legislation passed in the U.S. to make it even more clear.
Did you expect, by the way, an executive order of some sort yesterday? I mean, that seems to be a little bit of the indication of what happened to the extent we're looking at Bitcoin's price as a signal of something.
Yeah. It's been one day. I'm not too worried.
What is the executive order that you're looking for?
Well, I think the first one would be just directing the agencies of the U.S. government to collaborate and work toward getting some clear rules passed. That's what would really allow capital to flow into the United States and for startups to be built there. I think just re-articulating some of these Bill of Rights, if you will, that people have the right to self-custodial wallets and the right to own Bitcoin without being persecuted or being debanked. That was a big issue in the past 4 years as well, Operation Choke Point 2.0, so-called. So those are some of the things I think that could be done with executive orders, but it's really going to take Congress and legislation.
Can I ask you about the Choke Point 2.0, because there's been a lot of debate about it. And the question that I have is, do you genuinely believe that people were being, quote-unquote, debanked because they owned crypto at all, or that they were being debanked because they were seen at those banks as a risk of some sort to the bank?
I think what happened is that the regulators, likely cajoled by people like Elizabeth Warren, they started to apply a soft pressure to the banks. And they said, we have concerns about crypto. Vague statements like that, like risk-based statements. And if you're a bank CEO, that's a really hard thing to do. If your regulator tells you to comes in and says, hey, we're uncomfortable with this. And, you say, well, is it illegal? And they say, no, we're just uncomfortable with it. I mean, it's really hard for them to stand up to their regulator. And so that kind of soft pressure, which was really unlawful in my view, was what was happening.
I want to bring Becky in just one sec, but I just want to ask you this, because it became a commotion even the last 48, 72 hours about crypto. What is your feeling about the Trump family's involvement in crypto? And specifically the idea, obviously, that President Trump put out a meme coin that was at some point worth, tens of billions of dollars. Melania doing the same. There are some people, even inside crypto, that I've seen who are very critical of those decisions because they look like an enrichment of the president.
Mm-hmm. Well, look, I think anybody should be able to create a collectible or piece of artwork. There's lots of different types of crypto commodities. There's hopefully securities in the future, but these kinds of collectibles or meme coins, I think, is something that anybody should be able to put out there. As Coinbase, we don't really try to take a position or recommend any one asset versus another. We really just try to look at what are our minimum listing standards from a compliance and legal point of view, and then we let the market decide.
But just the concept of there's sort of two components. The concept of a meme coin, is that good or bad for crypto? Meaning, if enough people participate in that and ultimately lose, because more people will lose than win for the most part in these types of things. And then the fact that the President of the United States and his family, his sons are obviously involved in a project themselves, does that concern you?
Well, the thing about meme coins is you have to remember a lot of technology innovation, things start off looking like a toy, right? Think about the early internet, and people were putting silly animated GIFs and like photos of cats and things. And it turned out to be much more important than that, right? And so you always have to be a little cautious. Like with meme coins, it's not something I'm personally like trading all the time. I'm not particularly interested in it, but it could evolve into something very powerful. And so you always have to kind of keep an open mind about these things.
And the family part?
Like I said, I think anybody should be able to go and do this. I don't have too much of an opinion on that.
Becky's back in Washington, where you just were. Becky?
Thanks, Andrew. Brian, I was just wondering, Andrew touched on this, just the disappointment that's being read into the price of crypto today. Look, it's not down all that much, but people are saying, oh, there's disappointment because he didn't enact these things on day one. But if you look at crypto's price since his election, it's up almost, or Bitcoin's price since his election, it's up almost 50%. I just wonder how much of the positive news is already baked into what you're seeing in the price of Bitcoin, what you anticipate from here in terms of Bitcoin's growth or the volatility that could come with that. I mean, a lot of the positive news has already been recognized from the moment he was elected.
Yeah. Well, we have seen just, incredible growth, and I think it hit an all-time high yesterday, so we feel very good about that. But I think over time we'll see Bitcoin get into the millions, multiple millions of price range. I mean, it's being adopted by more and more institutional customers. The ETFs brought in a huge amount of inflow. If we get clear legislation passed in the U.S., that would be a big milestone. A strategic Bitcoin reserve, if the U.S. took that path, probably the rest of the G20 would follow. In fact, I've discussed with a number of finance ministers here in Switzerland from different countries around the world, just the idea of a strategic Bitcoin reserve. They're getting more interested in it now because the U.S. is looking into it. So I think Bitcoin has a long way to go. It's going to be the new gold standard out there. And crypto is really much bigger than that, too. It's about payments. It's about economic freedom and many things else.